What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are looking at Starry Nights. This is a cool one, okay? Listen, this deck is by far and away like tier 4, table 500. This deck is not very good. It's one of the worst probably in recent memory, recent history decks that have been released. As far as new releases go, it's definitely one of the worst decks there, but it is really cool. And if you are a fan of the deck, I think stylistically it looks phenomenal. I love the artwork for it. And that's honestly what gave me the motivation to build it. And plus, it's also a pretty cheap deck to put together. I have some generic staples in here that do cost a little bit, but of course there are always budget alternatives to stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into this one. Starry Nights. All right, so we did get the new monster in Burst of Destiny, and that card I do think really helps with, you know, the main point of the deck of what, or I guess the best way to play the deck in my opinion. So let's start off with the monsters here. Starting off, we have triple copies of Starry Night. Ray L. This card's pretty cool. This is your Stratos or whatever, your normal summon. Searches any of these Starry Night spell or traps, and then it can banish itself from grave to reborn a Starry Night from grave. That's also pretty good, especially with the new addition of Starry Night Orbitail. This is the new good one here. This guy has a quick effect to tribute a light monster you control, and if you do, you can set a Starry Night spell or trap directly from the deck. That's pretty good. Also, if a level 7 light dragon monster you control returns to the hand while this card's in grave, it can summon itself back to the field. Also, it doesn't even banish itself next time it leaves the field, so pretty good. This guy is really good for help. Both of these are really good at helping you get access to your spells and traps, get set up. I love it. Then we have a couple of one-ofs here. We have Starry Night Estelle. This guy is mainly there as a quick effect to tribute any light you control to special summon the dragon straight out of the hand. So he has another way to get access to the dragon from the hand, because that's what the deck does. You add the dragon to hand, and then on your opponent's turn, you're trying to summon that dragon from the hand to get pops. That's it. That's what you're doing. We have one copy of CL. He's kind of like an extender, but not really. And I don't know. He can, so if he's in the hand, he can return a Starry Night you control or a level 7 light dragon to special summon himself. And then if you control no monsters, you can banish him from grave to summon a level 7 dragon from the hand. So he's fine, I guess. But he does come up time to time. Just like if I normal summoned one of these last turn, I could like, and I have a Balefire, I can like search CL, bounce it back to hand, and then normal summon it again, just to get both on field. So he does come up, but you know, just a one-of for sure. And then we have Flamel. He is our battle phase trick. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send this card from hand or field to the graveyard to special summon a level 7 light dragon from your hand. So cool, another way to get a light dragon out of the hand, but also as a quick effect, you can banish him from the graveyard to target a level 7 light dragon you control, or in your graveyard, and return it to the hand. So getting one back from grave is actually really, really nice, because once they get outed, he, I think, might be the only way to get one back from grave. A lot of them get it from field back to hand, but not from grave. So this is very, very welcome for sure. And then finishing up our light fairy package, we'll kind of scoop these over here. We have one copy of Barrier Statue of the Heavens. This card is incredibly important because this deck kind of sucks. So we need something that can just be a blowout. We can just win duels on the back of this card. And this, guys, I kid you not, I looked for legit 45 minutes through my pile of cards. I could not find an honest. Apologies on that. This is just supposed to be honest. You know, the classic honesty is like the two main effects. He's a level 4 light fairy, of course, so that he works with all the other light fairy cards. He can return himself from field to the hand once per turn. And then in hand, if your light monster battles, you can like pitch him, and your monster like gains, what is it? Do you just gain the attack of the monster you're battling, or whatever? It's like a battle trap. It means like you can't lose to the monster you're battling. So the idea is that these two paired together is like really, really good, so that you can just summon this off of Ties of the Brethren, return this to hand, and that way your opponent can't even normal summon and just try to walk over the barrier statue because you've got an honest in hand. So it's kind of nasty, but just a one-of. If you draw it, fine. You could potentially catch some people off guard with it, although I'm not sure it's really going to win you duels like it might have done in the past 10 years ago, but still cool to have, cool to see Honest actually being played in a deck in 2021. But 11 monsters in the main. These are your Ties of the Brethren targets. Very, very important. Next up here, of course, we have to show off this guy. Triple copies of Starry Knight, Starry Dragon. You really need to see access to this card. If you don't find this card, your deck doesn't do anything except maybe Ties of the Brethren into Barrier Statue. But that doesn't win duels by itself. You do need to at some point get summoning, but your whole deck is light, so we don't even care about the Barrier Statue. And when this card is summoned, it pops a card, and also if it battles a dark monster, you can, or actually if this attacks any monster, you can banish that monster to the end phase and then attack your opponent again in a row. And if it can't be destroyed by battle by a dark monster or by dark monster's effects. By the way, Konami, go ahead and make this deck better. Feel free to make some of these poo cards a little better. Go ahead and make this card like unaffected by all dark monster effects. Like, why just can't be destroyed? That's it? That ain't even good. Sheesh. All right, but I think you need to be playing 3. I get it, it's searchable, but like also getting 2 in rotation isn't even necessarily bad because sometimes you can set up 2 ways to summon from hand and his pop effect is not hard ones for turns. So, you know, summoning 2 to get 2 pops is actually relatively decent for a bad deck. So, yeah. All right, moving on. We have triple Starry Knight Balefire. This card is your search card. It adds either a Starry Knight or a level 7 Light Dragon monster from deck to hand. Then if you control no monsters and your opponent controls a dark monster, you can special summon the Light Dragon from your hand. Cool. That's kind of rare. I don't know. It's matchup dependent. It's not good turn 1, but I guess in a situation going second, it is a way to just get the dragon out, pop a card, and search something. So, cool. There we have triple copies of Starry Night Ceremony. I don't love this card, but I think it's a necessary evil. I'm also playing the 1 Sky. So this card is, during the main phase, I can reveal Light Fairy in hand. If I do, I can add the dragon from deck to hand, but then I have to place the revealed monster on the bottom of the deck. Unfortunately, it's not just a +1, it is a 1-for-1, unfortunately. But on the bonus side, if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can just special summon a level 7 Light Dragon from the hand. That's just continuous. Fortunately, you can't do both in the same turn, so you might not be able to summon the dragon the same turn you're searching for it, but it is another way on the opponent's turn to get the dragon out, and that's what you want. You want that flexibility of having multiple ways to get that dragon out. And then Sky. Sky's pretty cool as well. It gives you an additional normal summon for either a Starry Knight or a level 7 dragon. But also, if a level 7 Light Dragon on your turn is returned to the hand, I can draw a card, which does come up. This can get you like 2 to even potentially 3 draws over the course of a longer duel, because that's what your deck does. It just like rotates the dragon. Add it to hand first, summon it on the opponent's turn to pop a card, and then on your turn, return it back to hand to load it up again. To do it one more time, and that card just goes draw, draw, draw every time you do it on your turn. It's pretty good. All right, triple Ties of the Brethren. This is no secret here. You have to be playing this card. Without this card, like, the deck doesn't do anything. I'll talk about a couple scenarios at the end of where Ties really comes up, but yeah, this card is like the only thing that gives this deck any kind of power is like resolving Ties turn 1. And because we're playing the tie stuff, I do think Pot of Prosperity is the best pot to be playing in this deck. I get it. You're taking a really budget deck and making it not budget at all by playing it this. I think you could be playing Extravagance and it would be fine. Like, I have no qualms with it. You don't really need anything in the extra deck there. So you could be playing Extravagance, which is much more budget. Desires to a lesser extent. I mean, you can be playing Desires, right? But you just risk like banishing the Barrier Statue, which in some duels can be a win condition, or banishing, if you're only playing 2 of this, like, you can't play Desires. And if you play Desires and you banish 2 and then your opponent like banishes the 3rd, you just lose the duel. So just keep that stuff in mind. And the last spell I play is Called. Just because we're playing the Ties play, like, I don't want to get ashed on Ties, so yeah, Called. And it's just, you know, it's generically good. Getting to our trap lineup here, we start with our Starry Night ones. We have double Starry Night Arrival and double Starry Night Blast. These are both pretty good cards, actually. I don't hate these, although they could have been slightly better. This one's actually pretty good. This one could have been slightly better. So this one is kind of like the Subterra trap card, but this card essentially just says it has 2 effects, and when you activate this card, or during the main phase, you can activate one of these effects. You can either return a level 7 Light Dragon from your field to your hand, or you can special summon a level 7 Light Dragon from your hand. There you go. on your opponent's turn, you're just using this to quick summon the dragon to pop a card, and on your turn, you're just using it to return the dragon to hand. Unfortunately, you can only use the effect once per turn, so having 2 on the field is like pointless. I still like having 2 though, because this card is the best way to like rotate that dragon once you get it set up. And so if your opponent removes 1, I still would like to be able to search the other to potentially reestablish and like continue playing. Also, I like hard drawing it because it means I can use my searches on other things or just not be as reliant on those searches to play the game. And then Blast. Blast is pretty cool. It's honestly an Omni Negate. It's just not a counter trap. It reads like a counter trap though, which is funny. When your opponent activates a card effect, you can return a level 7 like dragon you control to the hand to negate that effect. And if you do, destroy that card. I don't know. I think the biggest problem with the deck is probably just the fact that everything only works with like the dragon. Like if this card had said like, oh, you can return a Starry Night. If either of these worked with like Starry Nights as well, to either quick summon them from the hand and then also bounce them to the hand to help you like dodge things and like have follow up on the next turn, or like to make the negate more live. This negate is only live while you have the dragon, so I get it why you might want to play 1 instead of 2. But it's once it's used, it goes to grave, and I don't think the deck has any way to add Starry Night cards from grave back to hand. So sometimes you might want to grab a second one to reestablish more disruption. So yeah. Next up, we get to our generic traps. We have triple copies of Imperm. This is the only hand trap I'm playing in the deck. It is what it is. I mean, I don't know. Like, good luck. The deck's so bad going second. So Imperm is at least one of the ones that you can hold in hand and like activate into a board. So I think it's one of the better traps. Also play Strike. Of course, Strike is one of the better traps as well going second. And I felt like I could have played Ash as the only hand trap, but I felt like Imperm worked better with Strike. Playing into a board, I could like set these 2 into a board, activate Imperm until a big monster. They want to negate it, and so I can Strike to clear again and like end the chain link, and you know, it's better than most. You know, it's fine. I don't know. And the last card I play in the main deck is double copies of Goes and Match. Again, kind of same thing with Barrier Statue. I wanted cards that could just like potentially just like win the duel straight up, just when I activate him. So depending on the deck I'm playing, if I'm playing against Prank Kids or something, they just straight up lose to this card. So didn't want to go all in with 3, but there are definitely matchups that you just activate this and they just like scoop. They know they can't beat it, and we don't care. Our whole deck is light. Same thing with the Barrier Statue. So really, really powerful. So 40 cards in the main, of course, trying to keep it consistent. The deck's been pretty consistent, I will say. It's just not that powerful. So yeah. All right, going into the extra deck, of course, there's not a ton of stuff going on here. You really don't need this stuff, but theoretically it could come up. And honestly, you have a couple decent Starry Night effects in grave, so maybe even just linking 2 off or making an exceed just to get them in grave could be useful at certain times. So starting off with the links, Lina and Hippo Shingen, just generic light links. Lina's pretty good, just being able to revive light monsters from your opponent's grave, and Hip, just giving a buff to all your lights. It's actually pretty nice because your dragon's not even that big, so it does get up to 3,000 at least with this. And they both float, so gotta like that. Just generic links to be able to clear them off the field. Phoenix for potential back row removal. Shouldn't come up theoretically all too often. Masquerena and Unicorn as well. You're not going to be setting up this play more often. I would think you're more likely to like just make these individually, like just make IP on your way to making Unicorn just so he can't be destroyed, maybe to play into back row or something. But I guess Unicorn's removal could come up over a longer duel where you just keep getting to normal summon and like keep putting bodies on the field. Like that's fine. There. 1 copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Again, I want win buttons if I can play them, right? If I can play a card that some decks just can't out, you got to play it because this deck has trouble finding wins. And I also have access code. This deck doesn't even make this card easy at all, so don't feel like you have to play this card. Please don't feel like you have to play this card. You definitely don't, but theoretically, if you got up there, it could be the difference between winning a duel or not. And then we get to some rank 4s, because the deck is mostly rank 4s for the Starry Night guys. So Baguska, Exciton Knight, Castell. I kind of like Castell because he does set you up for Zeus, right? If you detach 1 and book a monster, it's in defense. So like you're guaranteed to not die from the battle. So it does like kind of set you up automatically for a Zeus, which is fine-ish. Or it can just be a spin, which can matter too. Utopia and Utopia the Lightning. This is pretty much just here for Dragoon, right? It gives you a Dragoon out at least, so you can just walk over it in the battle phase. That's fine. We'll take it, I guess. Heartland Draco, let's see, if our boy Castell isn't really like necessary to make it, then I'd rather just be making Heartland Draco. And then, of course, this card attacking directly can also win you games in time, but also just sets you up for Zeus plays. Also have the Vespinato here. If you're going to make like a shitty rank 4 and you weren't able to attack with it or something, you can just overlay it for Vespinato, so at least you have a piercing big body that floats. So, you know, it does like have to force your opponent to have like diff spicy little removal for it, but it is what it is. I don't think you have to play these cards, but it is nice. It is one of these are the more useful things. Like I could see myself making Zeus a little more frequently than some of the other extra deck monsters, but again, like it's gonna come up maybe once every 10 duels, and I'm not even sure it'll be game winning. So it's up to you whether or not you want to worry about making sure Zeus is in your extra. But there you go. That's my Starry Night deck profile. It's a cool deck. I mean, it's cool. I like the idea. I just think they could have made a lot of these cards a lot better. They could have made like Rael on normal or special summon, but it's only on normal. They could have made this guy just like, I don't know. These other ones are like fine, but they're not great. And they could have made the dragon like way, way better. Like the dragon itself should have had a summoning condition. That way it's not like a straight up brick. But it is what it is. It's still a cool deck. I love the art behind the deck. It's just like a table 500 deck. So very much for fun though. Go ahead and try it out if you want to at your locals or with your friends or whatever. It's a really cool deck. I definitely recommend giving it a shot if you just think the artwork is cool. So that's going to do it for me today, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on the list. What would you change about it? I'm just one guy trying to build these decks the best that I can. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. You want to see more stuff from me. Peace.